Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my husband his gift for his son won't be received the way he wants it to be? My husband Rich and I have been married for 15 years. We have 2 children together ages 13 and 11. Rich has 2 children from his marriage to his late wife, May. My stepkids are 24 and 23. My stepson is the oldest, stepdaughter is the youngest. When Rich first found out he was going to be a father, he started a scrapbook for his son that had photos and written memories and little mementos added in that he continued throughout the next 25 years. He did the same for his other 3 children as well. This book documents everything from fun memories to sweet and heartfelt ones to even some more heartbreaking ones, like the loss of May. My husband has decided the scrapbook will be his gift to his son for his 25th birthday. He included all sorts of family photos and moments in this scrapbook, including since we got married and had our kids. But both my stepkids have been pretty clear that they do not have a fondness for me or for their half-siblings, and they have no trace of us in their homes. When he moved out, he left behind photos he was in that included me and my children, his half-siblings. And when my husband mentioned he had forgotten some photos, my stepson replied he had double and triple checked and had everything he wanted. My stepdaughter was a little more clear, and she actually tossed any unwanted photos in the trash before she moved out. On their social media they post family photos, but funnily enough they never have me or their half-siblings included. They never acknowledge us online at all. My stepkids both also said they'd like it if their dad didn't bring us, because if he's visiting they'd like to see him and only him. My husband brushed off that comment by saying he could stop by on his own too, but they'd never see the rest of us if we didn't visit. I'll say right here, I was not an affair partner, nor did I ever expect the kids to forget about their mom or replace her with me. Nor did I expect my husband to. I did not push myself on them. The kids never spoke out against us getting married or brought any issues to me or my husband about us. And we did talk to them. It really only became apparent after they became adults. So when my husband brought up that he was going to gift the scrapbook to his son for his 25th birthday, I asked him if he was sure, and he was like, why not? His son would love it and he couldn't wait for us all to go through it together. I told him I wasn't so sure he'd love all of it given his refusal to have photos of me or the kids in his home. He told me it's not like he could remove them. I didn't comment. He asked me what I expected and then asked if I thought he'd rip those pages out or something. I said yes. He asked why I was being so negative, and I told him that given the last several years I really didn't think the gift would be received the way he's expecting. My husband told me my negativity was too much and he was unhappy with me thinking of his kids like that. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. T-Night Girl says, not the a-hole, your hubs is in denial, as others are saying. I think it might be best to let it go at this point though. Hopefully the sun doesn't destroy the scrapbook. Opie replies, I don't think he'd destroy the whole thing. I can see him tearing out pages that mention or have photos of me and the kids. Tasty_donut_9226 says, not the a-hole, your husband has his head buried in the sand. Have you all done family therapy? Opie replies, in the past, yes. Not recently. Welford Nelford says, not the a-hole. Your husband is in major denial how his kids feel about you and their half-siblings. That said, if he's bent on giving this gift, he can knock himself out, but his son will probably rip out the pages with pictures he doesn't want, best case, or it may put a rift between him and his dad, worst case. I truly don't understand what your husband is thinking here. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not picking a new color for my house even though my son finds the one we have embarrassing? I bought my house 15 years ago. It was a fixer-upper and needed a lot of work. The only thing I kept the house is it's painted bright pink. The guy I bought it from said it was his deceased father's house. He had painted it this way to piss off his neighbors. I decided I liked the color and kept it the way it was. When I married my wife a year later, she agreed. We now have 3 kids, a 13-year-old boy, a 10-year-old girl and an 8-year-old girl. We are doing some minor renovations to the house and have decided to touch up the paint as it's been a while. My son asked that we paint it a normal color because it's embarrassing to live in a pink house. We declined and said we like the color. Ultimately, it's our house and we'll be living in it longer than him. When we die, he's free to paint it what he wants. My mother-in-law feels we're being unfair and that we should take into account how it's embarrassing for a teen boy to live in a Barbie house. We asked my son if he's being teased and he said no. But he hates it. Our daughters like it. Are we wrong for not painting the house a normal color? Top comments. Chbay87 says, "Not the a-hole, I live in a pink house. The color was chosen by my husband's grandfather when the house was built. It's the only pink house in our area, and anytime someone asks where we live we say the pink house on our street, and they all know the house. It's on a main road so it sticks out in the sea of traditional colors. The story behind the house is, my husband's grandfather was known to be a very frugal man. When it came to picking a house color he chose what was on sale, hence the pink. 60 years later and we've never spoke of changing it because we love the story. 3 generations have been raised in this house. There's something very special about seeing the house unchanged over the years as the scenery around it has changed and the people who were raised there are now grown up with families and now us, raising our son here. I love that his great-grandfather has pics in front of this house and now our son does too." Meow_waiting says, "Not the a-hole, your child can suck it up. No offense to your child, teenagers are moody, I would know, I am one, and he'll get over it. Also your mother-in-law should respect your decisions in parenting and about your house. I think your son will mature to understand that pink is not an embarrassing color, and honestly your mother-in-law should too." Random guy says, "Your son is 13. The house could be painted by Samuel L. Jackson and his peers would find a way to embarrass him for it. Hopefully he's not getting bullied too hard at school. It's not easy to be the kid in the house. I remember a kid who lived in a huge house in a nice neighborhood with everything a kid could want, top-of-the-line gaming setup, trampoline, Great Dane puppy, and a big yard with a fire pit, and he got bullied. Why? Because it was across the street from his primary school. The general teasing kinda turned to a stigma aura by the time he got to secondary school and only the new kids would make friends with him. It was like students didn't talk to him but also couldn't tell you why they didn't talk to him. Kids are cruel in ways we can't understand half the time. So, I'm gonna say no a-hole here, your kid had the right to ask and you had the right to say no. He doesn't understand that the home is a middle finger to your neighbors." Next story. Am I the a-hole for shutting my ILs down when they brought up issues with photos of my children's mom in our home? I, 46M, have 2 children, FI, 13F, and Kale, 10M. Their mom died 5 years ago in a car crash. We had been married at the time but only legally. For the last 3 years of her life we were pretending to still be together and we stayed married, but it was all pretending for the kids. We did not want to divorce for our kids' sake. Both of us came from divorced families and what I consider broken homes because of how badly our parents handled the divorces. We didn't want that for the kids. We feared we couldn't do better. The end result was us hating each other. It ran deep too. I regret that now. The last words we exchanged were not kind. Our kids deserved better than that. Better than having parents who hated each other because we were so afraid to divorce. So after she died I was determined to let go of all that hate and I was determined to make sure the kids knew they were loved by both parents and were not burdened by the issues we'd had. Their mom and dad both love them. I truly believe their mom's love still exists for them in them. And they deserve to know that love. That was what I focused on. So I saved everything of hers for them. It's all stored safely for them one day. And a couple of years after she died, I did remove most of the photos of our married life. But I let the kids keep 2 photos of their choice out in the open in common areas of the house. The rest are either in their room or stored for them with the rest of her stuff. My kids love and miss their moms so much and it brings them comfort to have her photos out. I make sure they can always talk about her or ask questions. They also have a very close relationship with the 3 siblings she spoke to. This is my children's home above all and I make sure it always feels that way. When I met my wife, I remarried last year, I told her about the photos and said a partner of mine needed to accept this. She did. We got married. Nobody has taken the photos of my kids and their mom down. But my ILs do have a problem, and maybe they're speaking on behalf of my wife and she's not open. I'm still figuring that out. They were staying with us at the weekend and during a dinner they questioned my kids about keeping the photos out when my wife now lives with us. My kids said they like having photos of their mom they can see in the house. My ILs began to say that it was inconsiderate of my wife and they should not be in common areas when I stepped in and shut them down, and I told them that this is still my children's home too, and part of that is displaying photos of their mom in their home where they can be seen. I told them it did not need to be discussed more. The following day my IL said I had no reason to be so rude and I had an unhealthy attachment to keeping their mom present in their lives when she's dead. They told me they should be allowed to question things about their daughter's home and I overreacted. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Your current wife knew that they would stay up. It kind of seems like your IL are trying to erase your late wife from existence. Which is not okay. You were completely right to shut it down. If you were nicer about it, they might have just kept pushing. I would make sure that they know, if they are uncomfortable with it, they don't have to come back to your house, but the pictures are not coming down. And if it is coming from your wife through them, she should have decided it wasn't okay with her and she should have moved on, not get upset later down the road and drag her family into it. OP replies. That's how it appears to me as well. The tone they used suggested that my wife should be enough for my kids to not want or need their mom's photos anymore. My wife and I are going to be discussing all this. If she's not okay, it needs to be aired and not kept and told to others for them to intervene on her behalf. And if it's not from her, then I would like to think she would also tell them to stop. Diligent Comfort 191 says. Not the a-hole. I find it difficult to believe your wife wasn't asked about the photos before the ILs brought it up at dinner. That means they will have known why they were on display. They would know that it is something that you are quite adamant about. That being the case, bringing the subject up with the kids in front of you was a low, divide and conquer tactic, since they knew they'd get nowhere with you directly. They were being extremely rude themselves and trading on, and hiding behind, the social norms of don't make a fuss. They were directly interfering with how your family works. You refused to play ball and their rudeness got slapped down. It's more than a bit rich of them to accuse you of being so rude, given what they were doing. OP replies. Yes, and I will be honest, I find it gross questioning children about having photos of a late parent in their home. Even adults do it, though some prefer to put them away, but we don't question them like that. But to try and convince a child that it's wrong to want them displayed or to treat it like they shouldn't want/need them now that I'm remarried, it just feels gross to me. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel our posts.